Okay, the recording is on. So it's 5:18. I will call the town meeting study committee to order and read the whole spiel. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people who may gather in one place, this meeting of the Freetown Town Meeting Study Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Freetown website, freetownma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: downloading Zoom and entering the meeting ID, calling the number listed and entering the meeting ID, or by going to zoom.us and entering the meeting ID. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website or YouTube channel an audio or video recording transcript or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And I'll now let Gary have the floor to open the Finance Committee.
Okay, so the Freetown Finance Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 24th, 2021 is called to order at 5:21. The members present are Craig, Katie, Christine, Carol, Kent, and Gary. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general chapter 30A, section 18, and the Governor 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Freetown Finance Committee will be conducted by a remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. A recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings will be posted to the town's YouTube channel and or the Town of Freetown website, freetownma.gov.
Okay, I'm going to run through our agenda real quick. The first item for us is the minutes of the previous meeting. I have not had the time to actually put those together because we had an abnormally long and productive meeting, which is a good thing, but the next item is to, again, meet and chat with the Finance Committee about the proposed bylaw changes. And I did send out to everybody, at least in our group, what the Finance Committee's views on those changes were. I'm going to just address those, I think, one at a time, and I'm going to start with the one that I think is the easiest, and that is the, where are we? That is the third one, which was the Finance Committee recommends changing the bylaw Article 4.3 to align with Article 3.3E2A to give the town administrator the responsibility for preparing a budget. I think we were all on both groups pretty much in agreement with that. It was just a matter of settling which bylaw was going to be changed to match the other one. Is that, does that sound right to everybody, that we were pretty much all in agreement with that at the last meeting?
Yeah, one thing we should probably talk to the town administrator about this, right? Kind of get his input on this.
We can do that.
You know, I want to make sure that I understand that was the intention, right? A long time ago, like this is what's supposed to happen. But if it hasn't been actually, if that's not how it's been done historically, you know, it's I think we just gonna have a larger conversation, make sure it can get done in a timely fashion, the way it should be done. Does that make sense, or am I looking at this incorrectly?
I'm going to defer that to the Finance Committee, because if it weren't the administrator, it would be them. So I'm going to listen to what their opinion on it is.
Yeah.
I don't know much, I'm new, but I
Yeah.
don't think the finance committee ever prepared the budget, so I don't think it's something new.
Yeah, in my experience, we never prepared the budget.
So it's always been done by the town administrator? That, I guess, that's my
Well,
first year going through this, so that's why I'm a little
I-
confused. I want to make
Yeah,
sure.
I think for as long as we've had an administrator, that's the case. But that doesn't go back very far.
Yeah,
Before we had the town administrator, there used to be an annual argument about this. The finance committee took the position that the finance committee should do it. The selectmen took the position that the selectmen should do it. And the two boards did not really talk to each other until they got to the town meeting.
doesn't sound very productive.
No, not at all.
That meant town meeting was long as everybody was trying to state their position. The voters were, who knows where, confused probably.
Yeah,
We
I
certainly had
personally
a lot,
I don't remember back that far myself.
we certainly had a lot more discussion at town meeting because there were usually, the recommendations were generally not in agreement on most lines.
Correct.
gotcha.
So what I would point out too, it does mention in the bylaw that in the absence of an administrator, the preparation of the budget would fall to the selectmen. We didn't really touch on that because that wasn't a point of contention in this.
Mhm.
So
I mean, but like, just this might be a silly question, but like, in practical terms, like, doesn't each department put together their own budget? Then the town accountant, I'm assuming, compiles all that information, and then is it really what we're talking about is who's kind of, after, I mean, obviously everything has to get approved by. I haven't gone through this cycle yet, so I don't really know, but. Like, how does that all in practical terms work? Is that what we're really talking about? Is it the town administrator kind of have the final say on what's the final budget we're going to present, or
I think he presents it to the selectmen. In my experience, the town administrator prepares his recommendation of the budget by working with department heads. You do get the request from the department heads. Then the town administrator puts forward his recommended budget to the Board of Selectmen. That's what goes to town meeting as a recommended budget.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that clarification.
And then the finance committee makes its recommendation on
Each article.
Right.
each line. Yeah.
Line item, yeah.
So what this would do is just eliminate the finance committee creating a budget.
Which
Yeah.
that seems to make sense to me, right? Like, then we're all talking about the same thing, right? But there might take some collaboration to get that maybe between the two.
We've never
Yeah.
created a budget.
Okay, all right. Thank you, yeah. All right, then, yeah, then I don't think there is any controversy.
So I think this recommendation is cleaning up the article because we don't do it.
Exactly, that's perfect. That makes a lot of sense to me. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. Let me find my list again. All right, the finance committee recommended also, one of our discussions was that between Articles 2 and Article 4, there was I think Paul had raised, there was a bit of confusion about what the finance committee was supposed to make recommendations on. Was it financial articles or all articles? One requires a recommendation on financial articles. The other allows them to make recommendations on any article. What we've had back from the Finance Committee is essentially that they recommend that we leave things as it is, so that it gives them the flexibility to have input on the articles that are not directly financial.
Yet.
I think, all right, I'm summarizing that one correctly too. So is there anybody who'd like to jump in on that one who may feel differently or have questions?
That seems fair to me. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, it pretty much leaves things as it is. And it does seem to work okay. Gives the Finance Committee a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, I think it was fair to kind of challenge that, but after hearing, finance committee's take on it, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of things could end up having financial impacts, even if they don't right now. And having that option, you know, I think it's good. It puts the ball in their court to decide what really does and does not have financial impacts, right? So.
Right.
So to piggyback on that, and this was, I think this got mentioned at one of our earlier meetings. It may not have come up during this. In some towns, the finance committee is called the advisory committee instead. Should we consider making that change so that the name does not make it sound as though they are limited strictly to finances? That doesn't have to be decided right now. That's just kind of a food for thought question. I mean, if anybody has a thought on it, feel free, but it doesn't necessarily have to be resolved at this moment.
I have to do more research on what that really means before I have a thought on it.
Yeah, I don't have the appetite for food for thought right now.
That's okay. If I remember correctly, and I can't say for certain that I do, I think it's the same statute. The town just has an option of what they want to call the particular committee, whether it's advisory, finance, or I think one town actually calls it the warrant committee. I don't recall, but we'll pop off of that one.
Mike,
Oh, yeah.
I think that if you change the name like that, there will be people who want to be on an advisory committee and not necessarily on a finance committee. Do you know what I mean? I think you're opening a kettle of worms because there are very strong opinions in this town, and some people, it can be more than crazy sometimes. So I think you should leave it as finance committee in the way that it is, because the people on the finance committee have made not only their commitment, but they have shown, you know, even like today, that they want to be part of the decision-making process, where other people may randomly just want to get in on the articles they're interested in or care about. You know, I feel like you've got to pick your battles here.
Yeah,
And I'd much rather that it's just stay at finance committee.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
No, that's an excellent point.
I can see it now. People like, how come I'm not on the advisory committee? I want to be on the, I can see
Yeah,
it.
then they join the advisory committee though, and they realize it's really financial, and then they leave, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody who hates solar panels is going to join the advisory committee.
Yeah, right. I like the idea with the finance committee. You kind of put it out there. We're dealing with all the finances and really everything.
I like it.
Excellent. Okay, the next one, the third of the fourth, and I think that this one is fairly reasonable also. The Finance Committee recommends leaving the budget due date of February 1st unchanged. They propose other changes, which we'll get into in a moment, and that would eliminate the conflict. Essentially, the point that we had raised was that the bylaws call for the Finance Committee to receive the budget on February 1st, but the election is April 5th. And, you know, you could have wasted time if you switch out, as it sounds like they may switch out a third or more of their committee in a week and a half. They propose some other changes that we'll get to in a moment that would eliminate that conflict. They also add there's no mechanism for enforcing the deadline and no penalty for missing it, but having it on the books may encourage some departments to submit their budgets earlier than they may otherwise. Personally, I think those are all good points and points well taken. I'd like to throw it out again for anybody that would like to chime in on it.
Nope, makes sense to me.
We had some discussion over on the finance side, and we decided it was simpler leaving it the way it is, and we'll start getting into it whenever we either have more of it or something like that. And of course, the idea of the date, July 16th, I think is what we picked for the new members to come on. It's going to be our same finance committee all the way through, which I think makes more sense than having it change part way through.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all agreed on that one.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's a good enough segue to number 4 of 4, which is the one that I figured we would spend the most time chatting about, and that is the makeup of the Finance Committee and the manner of selection. The Finance Committee has recommended that they be reduced from a 7-member board to a 5-member board, that the 5 members be appointed by the moderator from candidates recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, and that the terms begin on, and here it says July 15th, but I think I know why Kent said July 16th, because end of year transfers can be done until July 15th. So if you went,
If we got an 8 o'clock meeting on the 15th, do you have the new member or the former board?
right.
Yeah.
So we've discussed kind of ad nauseum the reason behind switching from 7 to 5 has been the difficulty in filling all 7 seats. Oddly enough, it sounds like that may not be a problem in April, because there may in fact be more people running than there are seats. But even when that's happened a few times in the past, ultimately there's been some kind of change, and it's been difficult to keep all 7 seats filled. So I don't think, unless again anybody is thinking of anything that I'm not, I don't think that there's much disagreement or much discussion to be had on this change from 7 to 5. I have some thoughts on the manner of appointing, but I'd like to hear from anybody else, including the 4-legged among us, who may want to have some input on. I know our last meeting there had been discussion about, should it be the moderator, should it be the selectman, should it be somebody else, should it be a combination of people? Either would anybody from the Finance Committee like to address this method, or would anybody in our group like to propose a different method, or however anybody would like to jump in?
Well, if I remember correctly, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, we decided that it wouldn't be a person or persons that were recommended by the moderator. It would be recommended by any of the 3, the selectmen, the Finance Committee, and the moderator would be able to make a recommendation. But that person, am I wrong?
I don't remember it being that. My
Okay.
recollection was that that the Finance Committee would suggest people to the moderator to be appointed.
Yeah, but I mean, to come up with a person might contact Mike.
Sure. And Mike
That's
would
all I
forward-
mean. I'm not saying
Yeah,
recommended.
so, right, Mike would forward
So
the name
anybody
to
can
us. Oh yeah,
I'm
anybody
sorry?
can recommend.
Right.
But I guess Mike could only appoint people that we recommend to him.
Correct. Yeah, I just wanted to make that clarification.
And-
Yeah, I think Mike could forward a name to the Finance Committee, and
Yeah.
we could do whatever we got to do, and the name could very well go back, or it could be somebody else, or whatever.
Right, right.
And anybody could forward a name to us. It doesn't have to be an official.
True.
Yeah, like I think it should be, if we make this change, I think it should be well communicated to everybody that, you know, if you're interested in being on the Finance Committee, reach out to this person
Yeah.
with you know, and organize a conversation with the Finance Committee to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
or through the moderator.
Absolutely.
Just, yeah, so I want to make sure we get as many good people as we can in those roles,
Right.
you know, or at least considered for it.
Right.
And that could be advertised on the town website or any
Exactly.
other appropriate means.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You know, as soon as Finance Committee knows somebody's leaving or whatever, to advertise, there's going to be a position open. If you're interested, apply to whoever.
Yep.
Whether you want to say the finance committee or Mike. I think Carolyn mentioned selectmen. I'm dead set against that because finance committee is supposed to be monitoring what the selectmen do and
I'm sorry. That
having
is
a
very
say
true.
in,
Yeah,
I was going to say having a say in what's going on.
yeah, that's true.
No, I'm all about checks and balances, so that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
So one thing that I took a look at when looking at this, our finance committee here was appointed before 1970. Obviously, I didn't know that. I had to go digging through old town reports to figure out when that change was made. So I wanted to get an idea of how it was done back then. And back at that time, the members of the finance committee were appointed. Again, this was before the open meeting law and things were a little bit different back then. The finance committee was appointed by almost like an appointing committee that was made up of the moderator, the town clerk, and the chairman of the board of selectmen. I thought about this for a little while because I'm not sure, and somebody who comes after me may feel differently. I'd almost be afraid of having the amount of responsibility of being the one who does the finance committee appointing. But if it were done by a group that was able to have a discussion, my thought was if we adopted almost the same system, but we said it was the moderator, the town clerk, and the current chairman of the finance committee, then that would give the finance committee a direct voice in that appointing process. And it would also not leave it up to one single person to decide who is on the finance committee. Not that I would ever do this, but that possibility always exists that, you know, the finance committee might be a little bit mean to the cemeteries one year, and I say, the heck with this, I'm not reappointing anybody who voted against the cemetery budget.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Mike. I think, you know.
My only comment on that is it doesn't, I'd have to go back and look, but are there other communities that do that? I mean, it seems like a lot.
I might still have that chart. Let me see if I can find it somewhere.
Again,
Well,
you have people that want to be a member of the committee or you want to volunteer their time and their expertise, etc. If they're going to have to jump through hoops to do it, they're not going to do it. So if you're going to start getting interviewed by a panel of 3 people, that might dissuade people as well. Like a job interview. I mean, you're volunteering your time.
No, I mean, that's true.
See,
I have one
found-
concern about when you say the chairman of the finance committee. If his term is up, is he still going to act as putting his name forward to say he's running again or interested again? I don't know. But I think, for example, when Christine came on, she came to a meeting, I was resigning, and right there that night, we knew we wanted her after listening to her talk about a few things.
I'm looking
participating.
I'm looking at the spreadsheet of how other towns do it. It's like the majority of them have the town moderator do the appointing.
Yep.
I think that's why we were leaning that way. It's a neutral party between the selectmen and the committee.
Yeah, there's
Most other communities do that.
There's a handful that have committees. There's one that's moderator, the town clerk, and the chair of the board of selectmen. There's another that's the moderator, the chair of the board, and the chair of the finance committee. Actually, there's 2 towns that do that. There's one that is the moderator, the chair of the board of selectmen, and the chair of the board of the trust fund commissioners. There are 2 towns that it's the board of selectmen.
And like maybe Christine, I see what you're saying about like if it's a whole situation where to get interviewed and all that kind of stuff. Like, but if it's just like, you know, a couple, like an email, you know, a quick kind of conversation, yep, do we all agree with this person? We'll submit that person. You know, I don't know how formal it has to be, right? If we do have more than one person who's doing the appointments or the, just throw that out there.
It might be subject to open meeting law.
Yeah. Yeah, probably is.
I know in
always forget
other
about that.
communities, like certain board members, when they're doing that, they have to go before the Board of Selectmen to talk about it or something.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I deal with a bunch of stuff like that.
I wasn't at the last meeting. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Why is everyone so dead set against an elected members?
Because it's been so hard to get people to run.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just like the getting the signatures, you know, the whole process, you know, we might be potentially, you know, missing out on some really smart.
Right.
people.
Can we relax those mandates that require X amount of signatures?
I think that's state law.
Yeah, that would
It
be-
is.
Yeah, that's
I believe
fixed by the
state
You know
law.
what else? I mean, Gary, how we've been doing it for the past few years is before someone leaves, you have a candidate come in and speak to the finance committee and just appoint them to fill out the rest of that term.
But then they have to go for that's the position I'm in right now. Then you have to go up for election.
But
The next
see,
election.
I mean, we can always play that game of when I leave, you take my 2 years. You know what I'm saying? We can do it as long, that's kind of bad to do.
Only if the positions are not contested.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, running is really getting all those signatures really is the hassle. Other than that, you don't
Yeah.
really have to do much.
I mean, I haven't ran for obviously finance committee, but is there like the campaign finance rules and all that kind of stuff?
Oh,
too?
yes,
All
yeah,
that work?
Yeah,
That was not the funnest part of running.
right.
No.
It's true.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Trevor, could you repeat that? That was not a fun part.
Yeah, they fight a little pain in the ass, but
Trevor does not want to be appointed to the finance committee at this point. I just did a quick, or I tried to do a quick sort on that chart, and yes, it looks like in the overwhelming majority, I think it was 89 towns, the moderator by himself or herself is who appoints the finance committee. And then there were some odd, quirky ones. One town, the moderator appoints 3, the selectmen appoint 3, and the finance committee itself appoints 3. One town elects 3, the moderator appoints 3, the selectmen appoint 3. Littleton, I don't think this is a system that we necessarily want to repeat. The selectmen appoint 2, the school department appoints 2, and the assessors appoint 1. That's, especially having the school on there, seems very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Well, if they're not regional, it may make more sense.
That could be, yes. Although to me, appointing the school committee appointing part of the finance committee is no better than the selectmen appointing part of the finance committee.
Well, that's very true, yeah.
And then there are a couple of towns. One town, the moderator appoints 3, the selectmen appoint 2. One town, the moderator appoints a nominating committee who then elects people on its own. There are, I'm seeing 10 where it's the moderator, the chairman of the selectmen, and the chairman of the finance committee. So I mean, it's all over the place, but yeah, I mean, like I said, 89 of them, it's the moderator by themselves. I don't especially have a problem with that. I don't want anybody, especially when voters are considering making this change, to feel, I don't want them to think it's a power grab by the moderator, because it's not that.
Well, not
You know, and I
the
don't-
finance committee suggesting it.
Right. I also don't want, you know, like I said, I don't want myself or any other moderator to feel the pressure of being the only one. So that was why having the group of three do it was what appealed to me. But I will yield to the majority of the group of what everybody feels.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm okay with a small committee doing it. Yes, I'm also wondering about what the composition ought to be. I wonder if it might make sense to have the town accountant in on that. No?
Nope.
No, okay.
I don't think so.
That actually came up, and I bounced this notion off a few of the people who work in the town hall, and town accountant came up more than once.
I think because we deal with the finances, but at the same time, I think there could be, you know, I don't know.
Did we lose? Oh, we lost the picture of Carol, because I was gonna say the composition of the screen changed. Nope, there's Carol. I don't know what happened.
What about, what if it was just like town moderator did 3 of them, put 3 appointments, and then finance committee did 2? Like with that, if that, so it wasn't a board, right? It was like each, I think that was a couple of the options, right? Like,
Yes, there were a couple of towns where it was split. One did so many, one did so many. Trying to find what Eastham had moderator 3, selectman 3, finance committee 3. Ipswich, I'm not entirely sure what this means. The moderator does 3, the selectmen do 3, and the annual town meeting does 3.
I mean, I assume that's election, but
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Webster, the selectmen were 3, the moderator 3, and 3 are elected.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that, I think that it might just be the easiest way to do it. If we just have like a, town moderator do 3, finance committee do 2, or vice versa, it doesn't really matter. It's the easiest way to do it, and it also doesn't look like when we put that on the ballot that anybody's trying to take all the power themselves. Even though we know that's not the intention here.
Some years it will only be the moderator that has the open position. Some might just be the finance committee. It's not all at the same time.
Yep.
So it's rolling.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that can get complicated.
That makes sense too. I didn't think of that.
Right, yeah.
What
So just-
about if the moderator and the chair of the finance committee just do them together?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Then it's just not so
Yeah.
segregated. You have 3, you
Yeah.
have 2, it's a
Yeah.
joint effort to find the right candidate. That's all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big interview process. Come on in, tell us why you want the job or the position.
Yeah.
Tell us your interest. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be like what we did with Christine and Katie. Just not a big deal.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable to me.
I do like the only thing I would add to that would, if you're going to do it as a joint effort, you would want to look toward having 3 only in case the 2 could not agree.
Yeah.
Which is why usually your town boards are odd numbers, because let's say it was Gary and me who were doing it. And I wanted to appoint Kent, and Gary said, nope, the heck with him, I want person B. And we just couldn't agree on it. Then you would end up with nobody. You almost need that third person at that point to be your tiebreaker.
Well, in that case, my recommendation would be to go with 2 from the finance committee
and the moderator
and the town moderator.
Yeah. The other problem with 3, which is less likely to occur with Carol's suggestion, is that each of the 3 could have their own favorite candidate and not be able to agree.
Well, that's just the way of the world. I mean, it's called
Yeah,
compromise.
right.
I mean, you're going to have to make a decision eventually.
And let's hope we have that problem, that we have too many.
Right?
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, right.
Be a nice problem to have.
Right.
Yeah. So
Um,
how do people feel about Carol's suggestion then?
I think I agree. I think it's a good suggestion.
I think it's less confusing than some of the other
Yeah.
options, splitting it up 3 different ways.
Yeah.
all right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go just in the order that you appear on my screen and ask your opinion on this question just straight out. Which way you think it should be done, and see if we have a wild consensus or not. So I'll start with Gary.
Yeah, I think 2 finance committee members plus the moderator makes sense.
Okay, so Craig, you'd be next.
Okay, I would say leave it alone, let it be an elected position.
Okay, Ellen.
I agree with Carol, moderator and 2 finance committee members.
Okay, Christine.
I'm good with the moderator and 2 finance committee members.
Okay, Carol, they're all calling that one your idea, but I'll ask anyway for the sake of it.
Gee, I disagree. No, I think that'll show more unity than doling out numbers to different people.
Okay, Trevor.
Moderator and 2 finance committee.
Okay, Katie.
Moderator and 2 finance committee.
All right, and Ken.
Looks like everybody's going moderator and 2 finance committee, and that to me is workable. I was originally thinking all of anyway, that's okay.
All right. And then I guess we would leave it up to the finance committee to decide which 2 of their members would be involved in that process. That could be an internal discussion that's done by
All
them.
right, that sounds good. It wouldn't necessarily have to be the chair, you're saying?
Correct. I
right.
think that alleviates the concern of what happens if the chairman is the one who's up.
Yep.
All right. So I think that is basically the bulk of what we were going to talk about tonight. What I'd like to now throw back is to the Finance Committee. The Town Meeting Study Committee had agreed at one of its earlier meetings, I think it was either our first or second meeting, that we were going to hold all of our recommendations to do at one time, which was looking like it was going to be the fall, because the articles for the annual town meeting are due April 5th. We were looking, and because we have until December to do what we're going to do, we looked to doing our slate of recommendations in the fall. I don't know how quickly you guys would like to see your number reduced or your selection method changed. If it's something you'd like to have try to start with the what I'll call the 2022 election, you guys might want to go ahead and submit those articles now to get that ball rolling before the fall. If we wait until the fall to do it, by the time town meeting gets to it and the attorney general's reviewed it and it's come back to us, you'll have missed next year's election cycle because the nomination papers will already be out, and this change won't happen for you until 2023. If that's something you guys want to go ahead and do now, I'd certainly be happy to help you put the articles together to do it. I just want to make sure you know that it's not going to come from us before October or November. I mean, if you guys do it now, we'll certainly chime in and say we agree with you, but nothing we propose is going to come up for another, 6 to 8 months.
I kind of think sooner is better, unless somebody has some thoughts they want to rethink this a little bit and maybe tweak it.
Yeah, I wonder about what sort of attention it'll get in the annual town meeting, with all the competition from the financial stuff.
No, it should be a fall meeting when they get into more of the, the planning board and all that, and a lot less financial stuff. I would think.
Yes. So that would argue in favor of waiting.
So, Mike, if it gets passed at the fall town meeting, whatever the state has to do, would it be back in time for election nomination papers when they go out in, what is it, February?
They usually come out the first or second week of January.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of this depends on the timing of the fall meeting. So once we have the meeting,
Yep.
it would take, and this is one I wish Cheryl were here for, but it would take, Cheryl a few days at least to get through the meeting minutes and all the associated paperwork. Because we're a town and we don't have a charter, our bylaw changes have to be approved, other than personnel bylaws, our bylaw changes have to be approved by the state attorney general's office. And they have a minimum of 90 days to do that. They can request that they be given an extension, and then they give themselves that extension without really waiting to see if we agree to it or not. So
yeah, they do their thing. All right. So
right.
If we had a fall town meeting in October, they wouldn't necessarily, finalize their decision before papers go out in January.
Right. I would say that if you had not had a fall town meeting by October 3rd, maybe
Right.
October 5th, you're basically, this change is not going to take place before 2023 election.
Okay, well,
If you were to do it at I'm calling it the annual town meeting, but we also have the special town meeting half an hour before the annual town meeting.
true.
If you were to do it in June, the state should have sent an answer back by September or October, and that gives plenty of time before the nomination papers and whatnot come out.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could try that.
But again, that's totally up to you guys. We've decided we're not going to propose our changes till the fall. We'll certainly help and support if you want to do it now, or if you want to wait until the fall. That's fine too. That's all up to how you guys want it to be timed.
How about, there's how many positions up for election this year? How many will be up next year? Like that would have to go through that election process again if we waited until the fall.
It would be 3 unless we got somebody filling a partial term or something. No, 2 next year. That's right, 2.
The 2 one-year terms, correct?
No, next year there'll be 2 people up for 3-year terms, assuming all of us stay till the end of the terms that we're going to be either elected to or currently have.
Yeah, not sure if that's, I'd have to check the town
I'm
website.
just thinking, I know there's 2-3 years up now.
Yeah.
I don't know how many ones. 2?
Well, when you
1,
2
2,
1
and
year.
1, 1.
Yeah, Christine, when you took over for me, I wasn't due to run out for another year yet.
Right.
So that's filling the remainder of a 3-year term. The other 1-year term is because Carol's leaving before her
Term is up.
elected term was up. So this is a year we'd be electing 3 normally. And then we got a couple of years with 2 each, and then we go to the 3 again.
Yeah.
I
don't
if
have.
there wasn't going to be that many up, it might be okay to wait till the fall.
Yeah.
But
Would it make any sense? I know we're trying to accomplish 2 things, and this would only do one immediately.
Yeah.
would it make sense for you to pursue changing the number from 7 to 5 now and worry about the elected and appointed part later on? Because that might solve your immediate quorum concerns and give you more time to flesh out and sell everybody on the other part.
Well, the ballot this year will give us a full 7-person
Right.
Right,
quorum.
they do get
I
6.
mean, a 7-person committee. So it's too late to drop down to 5. Unless we want to do it for next year, it could be done. It's a matter of how they do it. Well, let's see. Now that would be a little complicated because there'd be 3 people on for 3 years and 2 on for another 2. That would be a 5, and then you'd have a year that there would be nobody to be elected.
Well, you have to, under state law, you have to have as close to a third of your committee elected each year as you can.
Right.
So if you have 7 people after April 5th,
Yep.
that's true. Because if you have 7 people after April 5th, in order to change it to 5, there's going to have to be either a couple of people are going to have to resign or.
Either somebody resigns so you can do it, end up like a 2-2-1 cycle, or with the 7, we got a 3-2-2 cycle.
So this part of this discussion may be an argument for waiting until the fall and taking the time to figure out how you're going to lose 2 people.
Right.
Yeah, that could very well be. I agree with that idea, you know.
We were fortunate when we cut the number of Conservation Commission members from 7 to 5. They only had 5, so there was nobody to fire, so to speak.
Well, as long as somebody's being elected every year, that worked. But yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Still got a few little details to work out. But if we can get it generally dropped from 7 to 5, and then we'll figure out amongst the committee what we want to do. Maybe I don't know.
Well, my resignation letter is effective when, Gary? The day after April's?
Yeah, I think it's right at the day after the election, I think.
The day after the
But
election?
your replacement is already on the ballot, even though there's nobody's name on there, but it's open to a write-in.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I just looked up the expiration dates of terms in the nearest annual town report that I could find on my shelf,
Right.
Which was 2018. So it says 3 terms expired in 2019, 2 in 2020, and 2 in 2021. So if you add 3 to each of those, there are 3 coming up for election next year, 2 the year after and 2 the year after that. And then, of course, 1-year terms for anybody who might be leaving in the middle.
So Gary, are you saying there would be 3 expiring in 22?
Yes.
All right, I guess I got the numbers wrong. All right.
Yeah.
And if this drops from 7 to 5, that would mean ultimately we'd only elect 1 instead of 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
If we made the change before the fall.
Right.
Right. So the other question I have is, what's the deadline for submitting an article for June?
I think Mike said
The
April 5th.
deadline, yeah, the deadline for the June meetings is April 5th, actually the day of the election at noon.
It's fast.
We're not making that. So how about the special town meeting in June?
also April 5th. Both June meetings, the deadline is the same.
Okay. So the question of the finance committee is, do you want to get on this thing, try to get something on a warrant for the June meeting that has to be submitted by April 5th?
I don't think it's necessary. I think we need more time to discuss and
All
figure out
right.
a plan and
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right,
think
that,
rather than
that's
rush
fine.
through
If
it.
that, you know, I'm just asking what people want to do. That's all. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, ideally, it would be great to do it earlier, but I think logistically, it's better to wait.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Okay, so anything else?
Did we settle that July 16th thing? I think we voted July 15th. I think we ought to have a
Oh,
vote
right, yeah.
just to
Right.
slide that over. I don't know if Mike mentioned it tonight as part of our deal, but
Yes, yeah. Mike?
Yes, so that's, I mean, I think we understand the purpose of why you went with that, and I don't know that you necessarily need to vote it again. We know what you're trying to accomplish there. You know, when it comes time for us to do it, we can simply put it in as our recommendation that it be July 16th.
all right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
So I think we're basically on the same page with all of this. Town meeting study committee, we probably don't need to meet again for a while. I think we've done all that we intend to do. We just haven't formulated it into final recommendations, and we have time now for the next few months to do that. So I'd almost like to suggest that we meet again maybe in May. You know, kind of take April off because it's going to be a busy month.
That's a point, yeah.
You know, we could shoot for May if it's busy with budgets and such. Then we can. I mean, really, we don't have to really do it again until June if we don't have. We don't have to. We could wait until June and get through even the annual town meeting and such before we come back again. Given the number of finance committee members and/or selectmen and/or moderator that are on this group, we might want to wait until after the town meeting. And you know, I think this has been productive. When we go to meet again, we'll certainly invite the finance committee, whether they want to come or not, whether their part is done. But it's been nice having them here the last couple of meetings. I think it's helped us get some different perspectives and different ideas.
Well, get the finance viewpoint over to the study group in case there's any question, I think.
So for those who are here from the study group, is everybody, shall we say June? Shall we just bypass the town meeting altogether?
No objection.
Yep, no objection. That works.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Okay. I won't even bother picking a date. We'll just see how things settle out, and then I'll send around some emails trying to get some dates.
Yeah, when we get a lot
to
closer to it, yeah.
Right.
Sounds good.
I think that will be probably all for us tonight. Let me just check the agenda quick.
I have a few quick things for the finance committee. I've already talked to Craig and Katie and Kent, but Christine and Carol, we need to have a meeting next week for the transfer station. I'm suggesting Wednesday at 5:30. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
Wednesday, March 31st, right?
Yes.
Yes, I can't do Thursday. I can do Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh,
Good.
Gary, are you on the building committee?
No.
I am, Mike.
Okay, I think March 31st is the day that Tim was trying to reschedule the building committee meeting that was not held tonight.
Well, I'll give him the same reply I did for the meeting it was supposed to happen tonight, is that my priority is finance.
Okay, just as long as you know that. I just thought
Yeah,
of that.
I know that's the tough thing about being on more than one committee sometimes, but
Yeah. I mean, we could try to choose a different time, but we need to know pretty soon from the building
Well-
committee what they're doing.
yeah, I think that could run a little long because there's going to be a lot of people, the way I understand it. The COA board is going to be involved. There's about 7 of those people. And the building committee, you could have 15 or so. I mean, depends how many show up, you know? And actually, the building committee does include 2 of the select board. Somehow Trevor didn't get on that one yet, but that's okay.
Dodge that bullet. Yeah.
Did you miss that, Trevor? I was saying you didn't get on the building committee
I
yet.
know. I don't know what happened there. I guess I dodged that bullet.
Carol, are you available Thursday? I mean, Wednesday?
That's March 31st at 5:30?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's see. I think that was it. Yeah, so I guess I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, Gary.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
And hello? Oh,
Second.
okay. Okay, sorry. It was just a call confirming a medical appointment for next week. Okay, so who made the motion?
I made the motion. Carol
Yeah.
seconded.
Carol, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Craig?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
And Kent?
Aye.
And Christine?
Aye.
And Carol?
Aye.
And Gary? Aye. Okay, so the Finance Committee is adjourned at 6:17 p.m.
Okay, I'll look for the same motion for us.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a competitive second to adjourn. All in favor, Ellen? Ellen, just give us the thumbs up, you're muted. Okay, Christine,
Aye.
Trevor,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
and I will be aye as well. Thank you again, Finance Committee, for joining us, and we'll do this again in June.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good plan.
I'll see some of you
Bye.
next week.